Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Work Hard, Smile Large podcast, where we explore the outcome of hard work fueled by positivity. In this episode, we're going to delve into the delicious world of food, our health, and the joys of entrepreneurship. I'm your host and founder, Nicole Christopherson, and today we have Morgan Zanotti joining me in studio. Morgan radiates boundless energy in all she does, but most common knowledge is that she spearheaded the launch of Primal Kitchen's groundbreaking avocado oil, mayonnaise, and salad dressings, along with other pantry staples. Today, Morgan wears many hats: co-founder, president, devoted mother, podcast host, and leader at Primal Kitchen. But above all, she's a beacon of inspiration for aspiring entrepreneurs, especially women navigating the entrepreneurial landscape.
I've always quit things without the next thing lined up. I'm like a big believer in sometimes you really need to make space in order to figure out what's next and really trust that you're smart enough to figure it out.
Morgan, thank you so much for joining me. Guests, listeners, grab your favorite Primal Kitchen snack, settle in, and join us as she shares about her life and her entrepreneurial journey.
My legacy would be if we could all just be healthier and live our lives, just really be alive. That's where I I'm passionate about.
Thanks for joining me, Morgan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hello. It's good to be here.
Hi. Let's tell them how we met. I mean, I kind of gave you a nice intro, and we'll kind of get into that. But I think it's fun how we were introduced, and it was only a few weeks ago, and here we are.
Yeah, we're
podcasting together.
I was on a panel at South by Southwest, and you were there, and we met through a mutual friend who happens to be a professor at NYU. He teaches at NYU, right?
He teaches at NYU.
Yeah.
He sits on several boards. He's all over the world all the time.
Yeah,
But,
so cool. And he was like, you two need to know each other, big girl energy here.
Yeah.
Just hit it off. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Eddie actually was a speaker at my worldwide vision mapping event that I do every year in January. So he spoke this year, and a lot of the people that participated in it messaged me about what he had to say. And it was pretty amazing. I always like getting our male community involved in everything that we're doing, because I think I always come off as this mom entrepreneur and on mom based and stuff like that. And I think we have a lot of male involvement in Work Hard, Smile Large because my family started it. So it's really fun having Fetty get so energized by being a part of Work Hard, Smile Large and shooting him with our community.
Yeah. I love that.
He's
awesome.
He is. He's a super connector, and he's super fun. And it was fun getting there and seeing the panels. It was my first time going to South by.
Me too. I have never been.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been to other conferences, Expo West is the big one for food, and it's in Anaheim. And I was saying to my VP of marketing was there with me, and I was saying man, I wish all conferences took place in Austin and you just take over the city. It's so
along
epic.
the lake, the nice view.
Being in Anaheim, and you're we've stayed in some rough spots, and then you're there's no good restaurant options. You can't walk anywhere. It was just it was great. So it was fun to be there.
There's never a dull moment here in this city. I feel like I go to a new eatery of some sort every single week, and that's what makes it fun. And there's always a new eatery coming into the scene every week too. So it keeps us going. Well, let's talk about work. You did something that was pretty groundbreaking. I think you did it pretty young and pretty early on in your career. Lucky you started with Primal Kitchen and Primal Foods before you started your family. So that was something that I was the timeline of it I thought was really special and unique. And I just want to jump into it.
Yeah.
You got out of college, you ran around the world. Talk to our listeners right now about your journey in the beginning and how you got to that.
Yeah. So you want the background, the full journey? Okay. So, yeah, I'll do it quick. So I grew up in Chicago, just had a pretty Pleasantville, Chicago suburbs upbringing, the Midwest, great place to raise kids, good people. Went to school at University of Colorado, got an accounting degree. Math was always easy for me. I had a passion for psychology, I went in as a psych major and then saw how much science I had to take. And I was oh, I don't think so. So I switched into the business school and just picked accounting because it was the hardest. And I knew my ease with math would just come into play there. So graduated with an accounting degree, did accounting for accounting firm for 9 months after college, and then I quit. And went and waitressed at my aunt and uncle's resort, Coons Franklin Lodge in northern Wisconsin. That's pretty much just Dirty Dancing. So imagine Dirty Dancing. I was baby working at Coons Franklin Lodge. So I quit my first job to go be a waitress. And then I convinced one of my best friends at the time, who was actually my first hire at Primal Kitchen, to move to South America with me. And I was just going to go for 6 months. And then that 6-month trip turned into like a 2.5-year trip in South America. So I was like living the 4-hour work week, for anyone who remembers that Tim Ferriss book, like living off $8,000 a year in South America. I traveled from the southern tip of Ushuaia and Patagonia all the way to Colombia by bus. I lived in Mexico. I lived in Central America. And then this trip culminated with me purchasing the domain name surfyogaecuador.com, which I don't own anymore. And then getting my yoga certification in Hawaii. I learned how to surf in Ecuador. It was just like a 2.5-year exploration. Then I came home back to Chicago. It was probably like, maybe it was 2009 or something at this point in time. Maybe 2010. And had like bad reverse culture shock. Like, what am I doing? I'm behind. I felt really like behind all my friends. I'm in my 20s. All my friends have these jobs. I will say they all had jobs. They're also living in downtown Chicago. So a lot of them were making, $60,000 a year, but they're like in debt, right? Because they're buying.
But I want to dissect this.
Okay.
Because I also moved abroad.
Okay.
And did something when everybody else was getting their careers. And it wasn't I didn't last as long as I thought I would have, because I was out of money and just none of my clothes fit and whatever. And I had to come home. But I think that was a monumental part of who I am today. Yeah. Like in those 2 years that you spent, and that differentiation that you set between yourself and your peers and stuff like that, was like I felt like I was so much more grounded coming back, having had that experience, which was amazing. The cultural experience, just putting yourself out and doing something that nobody else is, like a non-traditional, you know what I mean? Not conforming to just going and getting a job right after college.
Totally.
Because I did it right after college, my undergraduate at least. I mean, that's
pretty much when I did it. I mean, I had worked for like 9 months, like basically.
You're set apart from everybody else who was like, oh, my dad wants me to work at this, everybody kind of goes and done is what traditionally they're supposed to do.
Totally. I mean, you get on the treadmill and it's hard to get off. The older you get, the harder it is to get off, right? Like, but when you're in your 20s, you just got to go do it. I was more like building my life resume than I was like trying to secure a job. Yeah.
But was it like bucket listy? Like, did you have a bucket list in life? Like, I've always wanted to do that. Or were you just like, I just feel like going and doing it now?
No, I'm a little more freewheeling. I was like, I want to just do this. Like, I've never been to South America. I went to camp for 8 weeks when I was 8 years old. So I was like at camp and like the Parent Trap, like at camp in the
collectively, or your parents sent you away?
My parents sent me. I mean, but but it was like that I think was almost my most formative experience. So I was there for 5 years, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, I remember you'd cry at drop off, and then you cried way harder when the summer ended and you had to go home to your life. Like, camp was amazing. Like, I'm still some of my closest friends today. We were like in the water ski show doing like a 5-woman pyramid when I was 10 years old, right? And they had like a camp council, and it was very like, we woke up to reveille, we went to bed with taps, you got to pick your activities. I mean, I was like windsurfing, horseback riding, needlepoint, arts and crafts, council fire, just this all girls amazing camp.
I can't wait for my kids to listen to this because they're going to their first sleepaway camps this summer.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. So that I think gave me like an early experience in just like doing something that wasn't normal. My parents went to camp for 8 weeks growing up. So for them, it's just kind of like both of them went up in northern Wisconsin. It's just like what you did. It wasn't even like a thing. But and I kind of carried that on. So I think I'm a big fan of like not following
adventure
the path, right? Yeah, an adventure and just getting out there. So that has kind of carried me. I mean, that still is kind of true today, but yeah.
So it like keeps your eyes open throughout everything. So you get back to Chicago, everybody's kind of doing the thing they're supposed to be doing, and you weren't really stressing.
I actually was. I will say that was a tough time for me just because I felt behind and I had reverse culture shock. I was like, I don't know that I'm ready to be like an expat, and I don't know that I fit in here. But I was gone for 2.5 years. I mean, I came home in the summers and stuff for a few months, but then I'd leave again. So I had that transition period was tough for me. I think I really like just in my 20s struggled so much with like, who do I want to be when I grow up, or what do I want to do for the rest of my life, instead of just like, I wanted to be a nurse, a teacher, a sex therapist, and a naturopathic doctor. Like, those were all legit careers I thought about doing when I came home from this trip. So I just didn't I was really like searching. I got it. My dad was like, you need to go see the therapist I saw when I was in my 20s, who's still my therapist today. He's like,
okay, so that was one of the episodes of the podcast that I like re-listened to this week. And it was interesting listening to that because you went to the same therapist your dad went to.
Yeah, which is actually like so smart because then like he knows all your dad baggage. Like you don't even have to explain he's like, yeah, I know your dad. Like I don't need to know. The dynamic's not important. But David's also very much like not a sit on the couch and tell me about your past. He's very much like where are you at now? What's the future? And that works well for me. I think they say like you have, if you have a lot of shame, you tend to live in the past. If you're happy, you live in the present. If you have a lot of anxiety, you tend to live in the future. I definitely spend most of my mental time in the future. I don't really dwell on the past.
Can't change it.
To spend more time in the present, but I'm like a very like future oriented human. So anyway. Yeah.
Planner, goal setter.
Yeah. And just like, I remember not being able to fall asleep growing up, and I'd lay in bed and be like, what would my perfect life be like? What would my perfect day be like? And I still do this now. I think this is like a great
do you sleep good now? Do you sleep better now than you did when you were younger?
No, because my kids are 1, 3, and 5. I've always been a good sleeper. I just remember I used to have a hard time falling asleep, or I'd stress. I'd be like, oh my God, it's 10 o'clock. If I don't go to bed now, I'm not going to get 8 hours of sleep. Like it was this thing. But no, most of my life, I just fall asleep and I stay asleep. I just have toddler sleep issues. Someone like poking me in the middle of the night, sleep issues now. But yeah,
don't change it. You'll get through it. And there'll be another form of them poking you in the face.
Yeah.
Another annoying way when they get a little bit older. I'm truth to that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in that weird in-between phase where like a lot of my friends' kids are in college or like graduating high school right now and going to college because a big part of my like inner circle is a little bit older than me and they have older kids. And now all my new community here, their kids are younger than mine. So like my kids are gonna be the ones that are babysitting like my husband's business partner's kids.
Yeah.
And, like, so when they travel with us, I have the babysitters, but it's just funny.
Yeah.
I'm in that weird funny phase.
Totally.
So changed path, came back, grounded yourself, hung out with some new people.
Moved to California. I took a job in
California.
Yeah, I worked there in the Midwest in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for like 2.5 years. And then I just had there's like this moment when I was 28. I learned how to surf in South America. I surfed Lake Michigan in the winter with like booties, gloves, and a hood on. You could surf like storm swell. I mean, there was like ice in the water, right? So I surfed Lake Michigan, and then I was like, what am I doing? I'd never been to California, and I took a trip out there to visit a friend I'd met while I was traveling. And I was like, oh, well, I'm done with the Midwest. Like, what am I doing? I surfed in Manhattan Beach, and literally this was like maybe between Christmas and Thanksgiving, I went to California, and then I moved like February 25th. Like 3 months later, I was like moved. I went to quit my job.
The water's better. I wouldn't say the water's warmer, but the water's
a lot warmer. I was
a lot warmer than Michigan, but not South America.
But yeah.
Yes.
So I made that change. That was like 12 years ago. And then I ran marketing for a brand called Kavita. So this is like another, like I had really no business getting this advertising agency account executive job. And then I had really no business getting this marketing director job at Kavita.
But don't you feel like it's helped you like with what you've done with Primal Foods, with what you've done with your social media, with what you've done with different things? Like you definitely have a creative knack that you're applying to your brand.
There's like some themes that I think like a lot of times life makes sense in reverse, right? And it doesn't make sense at the time, but there's like a lot of themes. Like I worked on this, when I worked for the advertising agency, my main account was Frito-Lay, and I worked on their like growth ventures brands, like the brands that don't have Frito-Lay on the package, like Stacy's Pita Chips and stuff. And then I go to work for Kavita, and they structured their buyout with PepsiCo, which is owned by Frito-Lay, while I was at Kavita. Then I start this company with Mark Sisson, and then we sell to, Kraft Heinz. So, like, there were just a lot of things that kind of, like, tied together, but it wasn't strategic forward thinking. It really, like, made sense when you look in the rearview mirror, which was kind of neat. But anyway, so yeah, I ran marketing for Kavita, met Mark, and then we started Primal Kitchen.
Yep. And so your role, like, at that point, because you're high up on the corporate level, you're starting a brand, you're building something, because I think it's really interesting, and I don't even really want to break down, like, business tips or anything for that, but like really truly life tips. Like you are doing something new in the food, industry or hospital, whatever you want to call it, whatever you call it. I'm not very
CPG, consumer packaged goods, CPG.
Consumer packaged goods. Like, what was your work life routine like? Were you still eating, like taking on a big venture like that and launching something like that? Do you have a daily routine? Are you like a crazy calendar person? Because that's, I mean, a lot. And I feel like you exude this very free spirit of like running around and just kind of doing everything. And you're very like straightforward with stuff. But at that time, like when you were taking on that venture, what was your lifestyle like?
When I started working for Mark, I was living in an apartment with a roommate, Eddie, from England that I met on Craigslist. I was dating my now husband. I would rent out my bedroom on Airbnb. This was like the year Airbnb launched, okay? Then I would be like sleeping at Adam's, and Eddie would be like, who are these random people in your room? And I'd be like, don't worry about it, Eddie. And I started as a consultant for Mark, making $50 an hour. And I was like surfing and going to the farmer's market and just like loving life. I'm like 28, at this point in time when I met Mark, maybe 29. Yeah. And I had other consulting clients. I was like helping this company, Mad Dog Athletics, that owns the trademark on the word spinning, like do a rebrand. And that's where I met Rick, who became our COO. So I kind of just was open to like, I knew I wanted to work with Mark, and I knew because, so for those of you listening who don't know, Mark Sisson's like kind of he's the founder of Primal Kitchen. He brought me on as a business partner 2 years before we launched the mayonnaise, and I helped build out the team, grew the company, sold the company, ran the company for Mark essentially. And
she's still at the company.
And still at the company 5 years post-acquisition at Kraft Heinz. But we grew it to $50 million in 3 years and sold it for $200 million without raising money. So it was like a unique, fast and furious entrepreneurial story.
And not raising money is a huge thing, because my husband's also doing that with their healthcare tech company. And there's an energy, there's a culture that has to exist in your workplace. And you bring an immense amount of energy like into every conversation we have, but has to be your superpower, right?
Yeah.
Like keep saying calendar, routine. Like, did you work out? You're like, no, I just surfed and ran around and like just carried your energy into the culture.
The gym. No, I worked out and stuff. I've always been like at the time I remember somehow someone got my name and I was like interviewed on the news for intermittent fasting, and I had my own like health revelation, right? So then I was like, I was like doing DEXA scans at UCLA and like I was in it, right? Like, I was very committed and in it and just curious and open. I met these guys from Columbia who were working on a documentary, and they ended up like bringing me on. I helped them raise money. I introduced them to like Laird Hamilton, and I don't know. It was just such a California time. Like I can't even like, where else does this stuff happen, right? But yeah, so I was like in Laird Hamilton's cold plunge. When like the news came to interview Laird Hamilton, they're like, you have to get in. I'm like, I didn't bring my bikini, and I'm 29, and they had like a 10-year-old at the time, Reese. And they're like, you can just borrow a bikini from Reese because she's like huge. Gabby and Laird are massive people. So I was wearing their like 10-year-old bikini going in the cold plunge, and Gabby Reese was like coaching me on like, okay, keep your hands out of the water and you'll be able to stay in longer. And they had like Rick Rubin was there and everyone's doing workouts. So that was kind of like, I don't know. It was just kind of like you'll meet whoever you could meet, whatever interesting people you could meet, you just went and met the interesting people. And I kind of like, I've always quit things without the next thing lined up. I just am like a big believer, and sometimes like you really need to like make space in order to figure out what's next, and not necessarily like line up the right exact next thing, and like really trust that you're smart enough to figure it out. But I guess a few big things I feel like what you're trying to lead me toward, and I'm not going there at all.
Because I'm an entrepreneur. I've started a brokerage, a female-owned brokerage in Southern California. I've done things that like I would say were unique and not a lot of people are going to want to go and do. And people have a lot of questions about that. And I feel like creating a brand that's, you get to sell to craft for what you did is like it's a big accomplishment. Right. And so I just wanted to touch on that.
Oh yeah, no, you're so sweet. Yeah, no,
like it's not like you're like, oh yeah, my dad taught me how to do this and how to hire people and grow the organization and do all that.
No,
it's just you're a connector, and you brought the people that you knew in. You've said it multiple times. Like since we started this episode, you're like, and I brought my best friend in, and that's a person I brought in and hired.
Yeah.
And so you pulled.
My biggest, proudest accomplishment is like half the people who work for me were like in my wedding or played soccer with growing up, or my best friend from childhood, and they like all still work there. And we just had so much fun growing Primal Kitchen. Like, it was fun. Didn't feel like work for anyone. We were like, everyone's always been able to work remote. Mark is like the anti-micromanager. He didn't micromanage me and I didn't micromanage my team. And so we just, I don't know, like got it done. And it was a mission-filled company. And it's just, it's been a blast. So no complaints there. It was a special, unique brand and special, unique time and just a cool thing to have done.
Yes. And it's, touched millions of homes, millions of families, and obviously health is at the forefront of it. And so it's amazing because I think that that's great for us to be able to introduce good eating habits and healthy lifestyle to our children too. Because now you're a mom.
Yeah.
And sharing all of what you've learned through that too is probably pretty fun.
Yeah.
Do you cook with your kids a lot?
Yeah, I do. Like,
I know they're still pretty little, but this is like, I was cooking with my kids when they were little too.
Well, I thought we do. Like, my 3-year-old makes scrambled eggs in the morning, and like they make sauteed spinach and scrambled eggs almost every day. And we kind of like set them up with 2 pans, and it's like a fight over who's making the eggs and who's making the spinach. So yeah, I try. I'm trying not to be too psychotic, but I think like introducing some of the things early like really helps. Like the kids have only ever had bonza mac and cheese, and I just cook broccoli with the noodles. You can just put in broccoli and it just steams when you're cooking the noodles. You drain it all and then so like my kids, like they don't even know what regular mac and cheese is without broccoli. So they love and eat broccoli. And
like they don't go to the restaurant and get it at the restaurant and wonder where the broccoli is?
No, they'll get it at the restaurant. We don't take like when we had 1, we went out to eat more. Like with 3, we like never go out to eat that much. But anyway, yeah, they'll get mac and cheese, and but they eat all the veggies because we added them from the get-go. Or like, there's a great brand, Serenity Kids. They make, this is going to sound really weird to some people, they make pouches, like, the pouches we all feed our kids, right? But most of them on the market are just like fruit. And so nobody really has any problem feeding their kid fruit. Like, that's easy. It's harder to get them to eat the protein and the veggies. Serenity Kids makes pouches that are like, they're savory. They'll have like beef in them, grass-fed beef, olive oil, sweet potatoes. So like my 5-year-old will still eat beef pouches from Serenity Kids. Like if he doesn't eat dinner, he's not a big dinner guy, he'll want a snack. And I'm like, you can have a beef pouch from Serenity Kids before bed because I'm not cooking another meal. So, and he's like, fine.
My kids are older. I have a 12-year-old, almost 13. But the pouches were huge when and that was kind of right when pouches started coming out. By the time I had my second daughter, it was like, and they had like the yogurt and fruits and veggies pouches in the refrigerated section. And she's my carb loader. I was like, no, you can have a yogurt. Totally. Trying to get those in. Pouch revolution was like amazing.
Yeah,
for kids.
For sure.
And for parenting.
Yeah.
So date nights, family, all those other things that you balance in addition to managing your social media and still being involved on all of the marketing and stuff like that. What's it like kind of balancing everything now that you have 3 kids and you're still involved in the company, you got your 3 kiddos?
Yeah. Everyone always asks this, like, how do you do it? How do you balance it all? And I'm like, you don't. Like, there is no balance. And I say that, and I have like, my husband's a stay-at-home dad, so he's really like full on with the kids and super helpful, like pick up and drop off every day. And I have a lot of support on that front. So that's, I would say, a big help for me. We do have date night every week, and we're not like, clearly you've been listening to this podcast. I'm not the most like routine person, but our nanny she asked to start late on Tuesdays. So we're like, great, can you stay until like 8? And then we just had an automatic date night built in every week. And that was really helpful. Like we never would have scheduled that otherwise, but like she kind of initiated it for us. So that's been good.
Nice.
Yeah. But we got away for one night without all the kids, the 2 of us, for the first time since my oldest, the first time in 5 years, like a month ago. So we're very much in it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I call it the zone. I'm kind of coming out of the zone. Now I have like little humans that are like adults, and their social schedule is annoying most of the time because they're better off with their friends than sitting at home. They don't play with dolls anymore or anything like that, so it's managing their social schedule you're in the zone, but it's also easier because you control what they do and where they're at and what they eat and stuff like that.
Sure.
So
for sure,
it's a lot easier. The other thing that my biggest takeaway from South by is when you started talking about reading, because as entrepreneurs, we tend to be recommended books, business books, mindset books, and all kinds of like, I don't know, professional development, I guess you would call it, books. And I had my best friend whose kids are in college tell me a long time ago that she was like missing these appointments. She's a rep. So she would go to appointments and she'd be sitting and reading her books in her car on her iPad. And she's like, oh my God, I keep missing these appointments because I get so into my book. And I go, what are you reading? She's like, smut, just kind of smut stuff. And she didn't like want to tell me or anything like that. And so during COVID, I'm like, I just need an escape and I do not want to read professional books. I just need to sit. Magazines don't exist and I don't want to look at media. I really could care less to read media and what people put out there. And I got hooked.
Yeah.
And it kind of brought me back. So I read them, especially when it's raining and we get cold weather in Austin, not like California, Southern California. But it's actually got me back to listening to other books, not reading other books, but I just listened to another book. So tell me, like, it's like you just escape and you come out of it, it's positive.
Yeah. So I was like a self-help junkie in my 20s. And like, I read every like diet book, every like psychology book, like all I read. I literally did not read like a fun book. I mean, fun for me would have been like Elton John's autobiography or like Brandi Carlile's. Like, that's like was fun. Everything I was reading was super serious, And then I was pregnant with my third maybe, and I was
I don't know, you had them back to back.
Yeah, I think it was my third. I was pregnant with my third, and I was having really bad insomnia. Like, I would just wake up at midnight and not be able to fall back asleep until like 3 a.m. So I just started reading. I got a Kindle, and I was asking one of my friends, Amber, like, what should I read? And she was like, why don't you try the Bridgerton series? And I was like, really? And then I'm like, okay, I'll try it. So I like read Bridgerton and then I just got hooked on like romance novels specifically. There's like a dopamine hit that comes with romance because you like know it's going to have a happy ending. So it's just this like journey of like, it starts off, then you meet the characters and then there's like some area where they fall in love and then they fall apart and then they end up together and it's just so predictable. Such a nice escape. And I just feel like my life's gotten significantly better since I stopped trying to better myself and just like leaned in my smut era here. Like, it's been great.
Yep.
So I'm like, I have read that year I was pregnant, I read like 215 books. Like, it was really crazy. But okay. I was awake for 4.
Shut the front door. I was never a reader, but that is a lot of books to read.
I was awake. A lot of them were romance novels or were historical fiction romance novels. And those you can fly through. And I was awake from like 12 to 4 a.m. like every day. So I would go to bed at like 6, sleep till midnight, pregnant, be awake till 4, go back to bed till 7, and then do it all over again. So it just kind of like got me through my pregnancy insomnia. Now I sleep. I read before bed. I'm definitely not going to, I probably read 100 books, maybe 90 books last year, but all like romance.
Way more than I thought I was doing good because I put on like my vision map. I was like, and I'm going to read 6 books. I think I read something like 18 books last year, which was like mind blowing for me. I mean,
it's not like a competition. Like I
know. I'm not for somebody that was not an avid reader and that could honestly say I never read a book from front cover to back cover throughout my entire education. I was like, give me the Cliff Notes. Remember Cliff Notes? Like, you could like get the little summary, or I would just like speed through a couple chapters and skip parts and stuff like that. I've never enjoyed reading until I could choose what I was reading, and I guess found something that I could kind of like escape in and come out positive.
Yeah.
And I don't read books forward, like from the front to the back. I kind of chapter hop too.
Yeah.
You can't do it in the novels.
No,
you really can't. You got to read it from front to back.
Yeah.
But other books, I kind of hop around depending on my mood.
Yeah. I quit Instagram and then I just, for a year, like I didn't have any social media on my phone and I just read. But I think I was probably like on my phone more, to be quite honest, because I was so addicted to the...
Do you read on your phone now, on your Kindle?
I only read when I was like, I don't know, if I was like nursing or something, which is terrible. I probably shouldn't have my phone by the baby when I'm nursing, but such is life.
It's literally my hack because I would always think I needed it on my iPad or I needed it somewhere else. If it's on my phone and I'm sitting waiting somewhere and there's like a 10-minute wait, I can just read a little bit.
Yeah.
Not be on social media.
Yeah.
Even though I have to be. But yeah, I fill my time differently. So, huge accomplishments. Awesome energy, great life story. I know you're going to continue to travel, so I can't wait to hear your favorite places. But what are your favorite places? Let's do this. Favorite places you've traveled to?
Oh my gosh, this is so hard. Okay, my favorite place in the world is northern Wisconsin at the lake in the summer. There's no better place in the world. And I have lived in Australia, Europe, almost every country in South America, Central America. I've been to South Africa. I've been a lot of places, and no place compares to the Midwest summer. So I'll just get that out there. You couldn't pay me to move back year round.
I went to Michigan for this summer for a week with my best friend because her family's had a lake house forever, and it was pretty amazing.
It's amazing. I mean, that's what we do. So that's my favorite place in the world. But travel-wise, like, I'm not a big city person. I'm a big, like, am I going skiing or surfing? So we're kind of like, I like hitting up, like, Latin surf towns, which is basically where I lived when I was in South America. And, Hawaii's fun, but with the kids, like, that plane ride's kind of a pain. So we've been doing more, like, Mexico lately.
Yep.
Yeah. Italy. We did Italy a few years ago. That was great. I don't think we'll go back to Europe for a little while just because kids are too little.
It's funny. I mean, I ripped my family out of Newport, and my oldest was a surfer. Like, she would leave elementary school, and like most kids go and do, like, the after school activities like basketball or whatever the school had, and she chose surf. And so, like, every Wednesday she brought her wetsuit to school, and she would walk from the school and go and surf and do her surf camp, and I'd pick her up by the pier. And moving to Austin wasn't really conducive to her surfing. Yeah. So, like, we've been taking her places, but, like, Costa Rica is her favorite spot.
Yeah,
and that's like, where do you want to go? I want to move to Costa Rica.
I know. I want to move to Costa Rica. Where have you guys?
Can I just study abroad, Mom? Can I just, like, study virtually, and can we just move to Costa Rica so I can surf every day?
That's a great idea. You should do that. That sounds
right. Because we didn't even jump into the kids and the schooling thing. Because we both, I know, are like, what school's right for them? Where should they be? What's going to happen with school? Blah. And that plays into our mission. So this summer, they have an online tutor that they meet with, and they've done it for like the last year, which has helped them. They both have straight A's. It's been really, really good.
Cool.
So the tutor's going to do stuff with them this summer, and I'm adding a language arts tutor, and that's like literally their only requirement outside of these camps. You're going to tutor 2 days a week with your math tutor and 2 days a week with your language arts tutor. And if we can get through this summer, it'll be a good indication if they can do that and just kind of study remote, virtual.
Yeah.
And that'll be...
There's so many options nowadays.
A non-traditional way for them to finish out their, education until they know what they want to do and know where they want to go for college.
I love it. There's college I learned about, I think it's called Eastern University or something, where I met with the founder of Slate Milk. If anybody listening wants to check out Slate Milk, it's like high protein, it's like a protein, ultra processed like protein drink. So you get like a higher protein amount. They have like ready to drink lattes they taste really good. They sent us some. My husband's been drinking them like every morning. But he went to this school. I think it's called like Eastern. It's in Boston, and it's required like half of your curriculum is paid jobs, not like internships, like paid jobs. It's the coolest concept. I was like, this
experiential learning, right?
This
Immersion.
Yes, yeah. So maybe they do classes, and then they go get a job for like 4 months, and they're paid, and it's just part of the whole university. So you get like the university, like they live on campus. You get the university experience, but you also get the like, here's what the real world's like experience. I thought that was really cool. So you have to show you.
It is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to go we keep everything normal until we need to change it. And I think that's part of like adventuring and living abroad and uprooting your entire family and moving and whatever else we've done and our life, that people still are sitting there scratching their head doing the same thing every single day, wondering, you know what I mean, what we're going to do next. But yeah, the schooling thing and not just doing it traditionally is constant conversation in our household.
I know. We've got one entering.
Don't be afraid to change schools. Don't be afraid to change teachers. Don't be afraid to advocate for what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know how they learn. You know what they thrive, what environment they thrive in best. And yeah, even if they have to go to different schools, each kid at a different school, like I'm game for that.
Yeah.
As hard as that is. But
no, I think that's legit. You got to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a life motto or mantra that you have either in business or with your family?
I mean, I would say some of my top 3 are like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. I think that's been a guiding principle for me. I think a work hard, play harder. Definitely like a work hard, play harder person. we always said we had a strict no assholes policy at Primal Kitchen, and I would like maintain that. So I think that's a big one. And then one time someone told me
assholes are culture killers, you know?
Totally.
So if you want to keep the culture, you gotta weed it out.
PowerPoint. Just those two things. Forget it. Like no PowerPoint, no PowerPoint sex.
Anything spreadsheety, Google Docy, like the whole Google business thing. I'm like, I just need somebody to set it up, and I can put the stuff in, but like I can't. Like it's before my time.
Yeah.
Or after my time. Time.
I know. Yeah. And then
the PowerPoint.
The last one, someone once told me anxiety is just excitement without the breath. And I think that really like resonated for me. Like, you know, when you're anxious, you're kind of like, it's the same feeling in your body almost as being really excited, but you're not breathing. You know, so if you can like,
well, what do you do when you're like, when your anxiety's like peaking? You like stop and breathe because you like realize you're not breathing when you're anxious. So that's like,
I liked that.
Huh.
I mean, there's so many.
I like that one.
Those are some of my top ones, I would say. And
I like that you have a few.
My grandpa, his mantra was always move the ball over and keep scrimmaging. And this kind of like trickled down through the whole family. Everyone's very like, okay, move the ball over and keep scrimmaging. Like, and I think that kind of just like scrappiness and just willingness to just have grit, like has infiltrated, honestly, my entire extended family.
100%.
Yeah.
Has been passed on.
Yeah. So I
can say that.
Yeah. Anyway, those are some of them.
Well, you've done amazing things. You've created a nice life. You're in the zone right now, but what's next? What do you want your legacy to be? Because you've moved some pretty big mountains and accomplished some pretty big things. But
yeah,
I mean, what your legacy to be?
That's so sweet. I don't know. I feel like I'm really passionate about. There's an organization, Eat Real, that's working to like change school lunch and breakfast programming. So basically, like people don't realize, but school lunch programs like the biggest food service company in the country, and we aren't doing a very good job of that. So this Eat Real organization comes in and certifies. They like give you a free resource to help just analyze what you're serving in your schools. And then they help you like with the programming to swap out chocolate milk for organic milk, swap out sugary yogurt for Greek yogurt with fresh fruit, these kinds of things. And they're just really like, I'm involved there. And Primal Kitchen made a big donation, $1 million donation to them. They're small, but like mighty. And I was
like, is it hyper local? Is it nationwide?
They just got some like recognition from the White House. They're not hyper local, but they do have like a 300 wait list of schools who want to be certified. They just need more money to have the resources to go certify the schools. So that's really cool. And they're targeting the South because like our health issues with kids are like they're majorly, they majorly swing to be worse in Southern states. I mean, we're seeing like,
weather impacted, lifestyle, demographic, totally. All of that. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. So I'm super passionate about that. I'm super passionate about just entrepreneurship. So I would say if my legacy would be like, if we could all just like be healthier and like live our lives, like just really be alive. I think, there's a lot of us that are here, but like, are we really alive? And that means taking risks and being uncomfortable and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's where I'm passionate about being there. So.
Yeah. Like feeling good. I mean, I love that because I really think there's a small tweak that can be made with like a long-term effect if people kind of looked at things that way, right? Like being healthy is just consistency in your lifestyle, and we all have access to eat healthy. Yeah. Whether it's expensive food. I mean, even if it's not organic and you're eating healthy food and you're making healthy choices, you feel better, your clothes fit better, your energy's higher, like you have less health risks. Like it all just is lifestyle. Like everybody's always like, what diet are you on? What do you eat? Or like even over like growing up, like the Atkins diet, or everybody does all these different things, and it's like, what's consistent for you so you can just keep your lifestyle like the same.
Yeah, we overcomplicated this thing. It's like it just gets protein and vegetables. It's not that complicated. Like, we're arguing about like all these things. It's like really just eliminate processed food, and you're like 80% of the way there. So,
oh my god, the best. The kids come home and they're like, so we have standardized. They had like their state testing or whatever, and like. So our teachers told us we need lots of extra snacks. So we need to go and we need to get Flaming Hot Cheetos and we need to get Gushers. And they're like, and I'm looking at them and like, they know I'm like Richtoring. And I was like, well, we have a lot of snacks here that you can go ahead and pack up right now. If you need my help, I'll help you. But I am not going to buy you all of that crap to go take your test. Like, I'm sorry, no offense. We love flaming hot Cheetos when it's the right time, just here and there, but not. They knew what they were doing and asking for that. Well, everybody's doing it. I'm like, well, everybody else is not you.
Yeah, I know. I struggle with this with like AYSO games. Like we're at soccer and it's like people are packaging up like Chupa Chup suckers for like these 5-year-olds. I'm like, they maybe ran around for 10 minutes. Like just an orange slice. That's what we had. We had orange slices growing up and we didn't even know any better in the 80s, right? Like we know better now and we're giving our kids this crap.
They don't even let us have snacks here. Like our coaches, like my kids have been playing soccer for 3 years since we've been here. They're like, no oranges at halftime. They can have water. They're fine. Just make sure they eat before they come to the game. So I'm like the random mom that's always bringing like something at the end of the game, like not every single game.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have these like
I wish
frozen juice pops.
Snacks here. That would be glorious.
Yeah, because like they're not playing that long.
Every game. I'm like, and what are we teaching them? Like they're excited more for the goodie bag than they are to play soccer. Like this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's like a mom competition. Like who can bring like they have to get the list and then the moms compete on who brings like the best snack.
Yeah, no, I don't participate. Adam, my husband for T-ball, assigned me as the person who would handle the whole thing, and I just never sent out a thing. And then he brings baseball cards and like bubble gum, and we just haven't done anything, and no one cares. I think the moms are happy to not have one more thing they need to like add to the to-do list. Like, oh God, we got to go buy the little brown bags and do the goodie bags for the 5-year-old T-ball game. Like, forget it.
100%.
Yeah.
All the extra.
Yeah. So there's my rant. That's my
adds all the
no more team sports goodie bags.
I know. Just let them go play sports and drink water and focus.
Yeah.
And focus. Well, I'm so grateful to have met you. I can't wait to see what you do. I love your little rants on Instagram. Your daily little rants it's just, they make me laugh because I never even comment on stuff. Like when I watch people's things, when I have 5 minutes and stuff, and you initiate communication out of me because they just make me crack up.
Oh my God, you're so sweet. I have like this. I don't even have Instagram on my phone. My cousin, I just send her videos and she just does it all because I cannot.
Oh, that's amazing. I have had people that have done that.
It's too stressful for me, and I just get it's too much anxiety producing. So I'm happy to hear that because every time some post goes up, I almost have like anxiety, and then I'm like, oh. It's so cringy. I'm awful. Like, get me off this thing. Like,
No, you're authentic. You know what I mean? And I think the realness of who you are is much needed in this world. And just having you share that and not be fake, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of having a real conversation right now is rejuvenating and it's inspiring.
Well,
so
you're
keep doing you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see where you are in 6 months or in a year, and keep doing what you're doing and bringing good people together and making good things happen.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. As always, we end the Work Hard, Smile Large podcast with work hard,
smile large.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you so much for joining me, Morgan.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another incredible episode of the Work Hard, Smile Large podcast. I hope you enjoyed our journey today as much as I did. A big thank you to our amazing guest for sharing her story and insights. If you found inspiration in today's episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with friends, family, or anyone who could use a boost. Remember, your journey is unique and every step counts. Keep working hard and never forget to smile large. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. You never want to miss an episode. We have a lot more incredible stories and conversations lined up for this season. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep dreaming big, and as always, work hard, smile large.